We are two of the biggest bulls in the industry. Today we're talking about Joby Aviation, and we're going to talk about our bull case when it comes to Joby. This is not financial advice, but it is both mine and Reese's thoughts. This is why we invest in Joby. You may have seen our Archer video, but I think Joby's a big one to cover. Reese, we're talking Joby. What are we saying?
Well, I think first and foremost, they're one of the longest running members in the eVTOL industry. They started in 2009. Joe Ben is leading the charge on them, and he's up there with the Elon Musks. He's not getting the recognition at the moment, but I remember there was a clip that you had uploaded before where he was asking Elon Musk about these eVTOL engines and where he thought they were going to be in. And Elon Musk said that it was basically not possible. And look at us now. By the end of this year, we could actually have a fleet up and running. So I think Joe Ben, he's one of a kind. He's acting in two jobs at the moment as a CFO. I know we were given a bit of stick there the other night, but that's more to do with presentation and the way that he was sort of presenting what we think is an excellent product. Because at the moment, I think you have to see with the certification process that Joby are a lot further ahead than Archer. But PR-wise, you would think the opposite. What about you? How are you feeling about Joby at the moment?
Yeah, so Joby, look, they're leading the charge. No one can take that away from them. What are they? 30, 40% further ahead than Archer themselves. I think some people think we were hating on Joe Ben in the recent live stream. I want to apologize for how it came across, because I think it was just showing frustration because we believe in Joe Ben and we believe in Joby so much. We openly said before the earnings call that it wouldn't surprise me if Joby actually outperform Archer in this call.
Yeah.
Now, Joby themselves, yes, they've been around since 2009, but it feels like this last few years they've absolutely taken over. They're vertically integrated, which is one of their major advantages over the likes of Archer. I think...
Well, yeah, especially because that means that you don't have to be so reliant then on suppliers. And if there is any changes in costs, you can't be held over a barrel saying that you have to pay this, otherwise you can't build your aircraft. They'll be working all internally, so you can imagine they can drive down costs at each stage of production. And if they need to, they can probably streamline it. And because it's all internal, that should work out better than just buying it from a different supplier.
Well, that's the thing. Like, with Trump's tariffs coming out, isn't it better that it's vertically integrated and it's all happening in the US? Imagine if your supplier was in the likes of China or somewhere like that, and you're getting not only banged with this 10% that he put on the tariffs, but he was increasing it by another 10%. So I think this vertically integrated approach is generational. However, they're not only producing their own thing, but they actually have flying S4s at the moment. They've said in this recent call they're going up to 5 now.
Yeah, so this one.
They don't only have the flight data, but they're also attempting to do piloted flights at the moment too. This makes them miles ahead of the likes of Archer, who are more or less still in the infant stage.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, in terms of the design and development, I think that Joby have sort of left Archer in the dust. Significantly further in stage 4 of the design. They've brought the actual aircrafts into manufacture, and they're onto their 5th one now. And Archer haven't even produced one. I also think that from the vibe that you get from the community, I don't know if Joby just think that they can let the actions do the talking. And to be honest, I think that's why me and you, when we were looking at it, we always thought Joby was probably the safer bet. They're slow. They've obviously, it's a bit more of a slow burn, but it seems more steady because they've been in the industry for so long. Whereas Archer sort of came in very hard and fast. I think that the slow, methodical approach that they're taking is going to be good in the long run. And the other thing is that they mentioned, so I do know it was discussed in the call, was about they've actually delivered 2 aircrafts to the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
So I know that they've obviously Archer have got that contract with Anduril, and I'm pretty sure it has got an exclusivity agreement. But does that mean that there is still a window of opportunity for Joby?
Yeah.
We don't know yet. And the fact that they are mentioned in their earnings, they did mention about defense, and it makes it look like they're gearing up. And it'd be a typical Joby thing to not release any news and then just dump it on us. When it's been actually formalized, signed, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, they would be going, here you go, we've actually got the same deal as Archer.
Yeah. And
or
then
similar.
Another thing, like, I started looking at too is when Archer first came out with their Archer defense side of the business, I openly said, are they biting off more than they can chew? The one thing I cannot fault Joby for is they are going full steam ahead for certification. They plan to be operating by the end of this year, going into the start of next year. So then if we look at the likes of the Dubai plan, it's very similar to the Abu Dhabi project that's happening with Archer.
Yeah.
When it comes to the countries in the United Arab Emirates, I really don't think it really matters which one of these you're in. They're all heavily funded by the likes of oil. They're more or less happy to pay anything for the next generation technology. And what I think is so advantageous about Joby is the fact that they already have loads of flight data. They can more or less walk straight into this industry as soon as they have the aircraft for it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so one thing that I would say is quite interesting about the Dubai. So they're taking 2 different approaches. So the first approach, we're going to say with Archer, is that they're actually selling it to a Abu Dhabi Aviation. They're doing the vertiports, they're doing the servicing, and they're pretty much just selling them the aircraft. So they'll be just selling it and then letting them do the work. Whereas Joby seems to have taken an approach where they will, they're not going to be just selling it and then letting someone else do the work. They're going to go in, they're going to do absolutely everything. So they will have complete control on how everything and like the whole operation works. And it makes me feel like they must be more confident in, number one, having the aircraft ready to go, and the fact that they have slightly more cash reserve, so they might be able to invest a little bit more in the infrastructure and making sure everything is working exactly how they need it. Because obviously they seem to like to keep everything in-house. They're vertically integrated approach. They don't want to be going out to subcontractors and subcontracting out, because that's when you lose quality. And Joby just, for me, it really feels like a company that is just trying to strive for the highest quality. They want to try and give the best service. And they're not going to be willing to come out here and say a load of PR just to try and spin it.
Yeah. And then another thing is, we've heard an awful lot about Cathie Wood being invested in Archer Aviation. Cathie Wood is also heavily invested in Joby Aviation. But why I think we hear a lot more about it with Archer Aviation is, I feel, and this is nothing against Archer Aviation investors, but I feel there's a lot more traders that are associated with Archer because it's so early on. And I feel like Joby are sort of able to weather the storm when it comes to not having the news out, but being able to get the product out and get it over the line. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the word on the street was that Cathie Wood was watching the Hustle Brothers, and then that's when she knew to invest into these companies. So, but that's just the word on the street. We can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, like I heard that also. And guys, if you didn't hear it, make sure to bang that subscribe button. And if you want to see something very unusual, guys, you may hate us for this. Joby Aviation. There's never any news, but you're going to want to watch this. This is the Hustle Brothers bear case when it comes to Joby Aviation. Now, there's going to be a quick disclaimer here. Both myself and Reese are the biggest Joby bulls there are. Literally, you can tell us bare facts and we will always counter it. However, we're going to let you in on a few of our bare thoughts when it comes to Joby. So we want to be 100% honest with you. So, Reese, we're talking bear case. Yes, you've heard it, guys. Bear case when it comes to Joby.
So I think first and foremost, we need to address one of the biggest bears we have on the channel, and that is Bag of Holding. So he's always telling us Joby will not be able to lift 200 pounds over 5 miles. So obviously this is a huge bear case. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that they'll be able to do it?
Well, do you know what? I think they should put it to the test on some occasion. If they invited the two of us to Joby's headquarters and
two 100-pound men.
Yeah, two 100-pound men. Now I might have to like bulk myself up for it, but I reckon I could get over the 100-pound. I'd be interested to see could they lift us 5 miles. What are you thinking?
I think obviously everyone's come here for the actual bear case, but that's been one that's been asked probably on about 4 out of the 9 eVTOL weeklies that we've had. So I thought we'd better put that one to bed right now. Yeah. But no, genuinely into the bear case, I think we probably covered this in a video before, but obviously the adoption of these aircrafts and these air taxis is going to be vital. Like, we're going to have to get to a stage where the consumers feel confident in this technology and believe that it can be done. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think that could be the major one, really.
So, see, my biggest doubt about public adoption, I want to explain this to the guys. I do believe eventually they will be publicly adopted. However, at the moment, we're going through a bit of a mad time in the world where there's quite a few aviation disasters that are happening. You're getting helicopters being crashed into, you're getting planes smashing into the runway, and then you get the likes of Boeing having their problems. And you've seen how controversial that has been with Boeing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to jump into my thoughts on that further on in the video. But when it comes to public adoption, you need to think, all of us guys here are the biggest eVTOL bulls. We all believe in the technology and we can't see why it'll go wrong. But take your investing head off for a second. Could you imagine your grandfather or a 60-year-old woman down the street who's doing her shopping, getting into one of these eVTOLs and flying away when she won't even get into the likes of a commercial airliner? Like, how many of you guys, please tell me, how many of you guys have actually flown in a helicopter? Because I'll be dead honest with you, I have never flown in a helicopter. Have you?
I have actually, I've flown in it once. But it's an impressive thing. Yeah, it was incredible. I really liked it. But obviously now that you see these accidents and stuff, it will just create fear in the market, or if just fear in consumer confidence in all probably aviation. I wouldn't even limit it just to eVTOLs. But back to your point about the 60-year-old woman, it even gets to a stage where I know a few times I've had to book my granny an Uber, and an Uber is such an easy app to use, very easy, very simple, and I've downloaded it to her phone, I would say no less than 6 or 7 times. And I've explained it to her how to use it, and every single time she ends up picking up the phone and just ringing the local cab. She picks up the phone and she just rings the local cab office. And I think that's just basically like an older generation thing, and it's going to be very difficult because people get very stuck in their way and they get very used to using what they know. People stick to what they know. It's the youth of today that will be moving and going further abroad and trying out these new things. And that's why I think it'll be imperative that Joby, and I think we'll probably cover this later in the video, their PR needs to be on point with this, because they need these big influencers. We're talking about the superstars like the footballers. We're talking about the American footballers. I imagine there's singers, actors that they need to be getting on board, and they need to be showcasing that they've been on this and that they've given it their stamp of approval, saying that I validate this technology. It's safe to use. I brought my family. We had a great time. It was quick. It saved half an hour of my time. Because that's the other thing, is that people want to save time and they want convenience. And then the fact that you're going to get a great view as well.
Yeah.
Like once it does get adopted on the mass, everyone will want to do it. You'll probably get to a stage where there'll be a shortage that they will probably won't be able to supply enough vehicles like to meet that consumer demand. But it's one of those things that you get a pinch point of, at this moment in time, we need to try and get over that hump and let the whole market see. And I think the later on in 2026, when it does go over to Dubai and they start over there, I think that's the first step on this long journey that we have as eVTOL investors.
Yeah. Like, the one thing that does scare me is, look, we're looking at the prices of like yellow taxis in New York or black cabs in London, yeah? But between me and you, we're talking about, okay, the younger generation will go after these eVTOLs because they're more accepting to new technology, yeah? You don't have the likes of your 60, 70-year-old, 80-year-old Irish people that have never seen a helicopter, let alone an electric aircraft, yeah? So I'm going to be honest with you. When I was younger, I want to ask you, Grace, specifically. When I was younger, when I was 21, 22, 23, did you have 30, 40, 50 quid to spend on the likes of a black cab or a yellow taxi in New York? Or did you use the likes of your public transport, like your buses, for 2, 3 quid to go the same distance?
I think, in terms of that, I'd agree to you. I think the age might be different. It might be the 17, 18, 19. I think when you get into 21, 22, you maybe do get a little bit more influx of money, and it depends on where you're going, doesn't it, at the end of the day? If you're flying to the airport, which a lot of these trips will be, I'd say, well, for me personally, it cost me 60 to 70 pound. Or you might go an alternative route, but £60 would probably be the minimum, I'd say. So it is that sort of similar price range. But obviously, if you were just going, I don't know, into town, you might just jump on the train or get a bus because it would have saved you a few extra pound.
Yeah, and then thinking about it, like, by the time this gets pushed out and to the masses, like, these 17, 18, 19-year-olds will now be 27, 28, 29, and we're then pushing the public adoption up. So by the time we actually do get out to the masses, is this older generation and younger generation no longer a problem? Because we've actually filled that gap with people who are now accepting this not so new technology. So we got to think, as eVTOL investors, we've heard about this technology for the last few years, but the majority of the general public have never heard of the likes of a flying car, an electric air taxi. So I think the PR is the big thing Joby needs to hit. And guys, you may hate us for this, but Joe Ben is not the man for doing the public speaking of the company. He is unbelievable when it comes to running the business, being able to get certification over the line, I believe. An engineering genius. But the earnings call was a joke. And I think we did go a little bit too harsh. However, like, there's valid points that can be made. It sounds like your local takeaway shop speaking when you hear him talk.
I feel like it was more born out of frustration that we see this company and we see how all of the good points they have, and we just want them to be able to showcase it. Because the reason why we know why this company is so good is because we're researching it every day. But we have to look at the layperson who's not doing the research, and all they're doing is they're scrolling Twitter, or they've read a quick tweet, they've looked at a YouTube video, and one of the companies obviously is absolutely spamming it, and they're getting 90% of the feed. And then you have 10% here with Joby. And we've even seen it with the Part 141 certification. Joby done that in December. And Archer have just released it, and there was a massive outcry on Twitter of how big, or on X, of how big of an achievement this was, and everyone was like rallying around it and saying, "Oh yeah, this is definitely the eVTOL company to go forward with." And our frustration is, Joby, we need you to start beating the drum and telling us this is what we're doing. We're the big player. We are the biggest eVTOL company. And I'm hoping they're going to do that in the next few months. And maybe it is that they're just putting all resources now in that certification. And then once they get that, then they'll move on to the next target, which I would actually be fine with. But we're going to have to let it play out and see where that's going to go.
And guys, like, please let me know, are you happy with the PR that's going out from Joby? Is it enough? Are you more bullish about the product? And look, PR doesn't really matter. Like, the only thing we think about Archer is they could oversell themselves and underdeliver. You can't say the same about Joby. They're not gonna oversell, I can give you that, but they're not gonna underdeliver. But like, really, if you want to think about it, if you want a bull case on Archer, make sure to check that out next.